Hello and welcome back to the Ellie Neale channel. I am your host, Ellie Neale, with crazy eyebrows. I just had my eyebrows done today, but I don't have any other day to film this video because I'm getting a boob job tomorrow. Vlog incoming. But I wanted to update you all on my newest hyperfixation. I'm really into books at the moment, which is very, very surprising because I've literally never been interested in reading books before. I don't know what has suddenly come over me, but I'm loving it. I'm going through so many books so fast and I'm buying so many so fast. Like, it's becoming a whole, it's like a whole part of my personality now. Like, reading is now a personality trait for me and you won't be hearing the end of it. So before my boob job, because obviously I'm gonna have a lot of downtime afterwards, so I'm gonna be reading a lot. So I thought before that happens, I will give you a bit of a roundup of the books that I've been reading kind of while I've been on my mental health break. It wasn't planned, I just had a breakdown and I was like, I can't do this anymore, I can't have social media anymore. So I had a couple of months off and I was just enriching my soul in that time. I was doing some painting, I was doing some gardening, I was doing a lot of reading. One of the first books I read, I actually read this, It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. I read this on the plane to Florida when my boyfriend was in a boxing match, by the way, and he won it. So I read this on the plane on the way there. I thought it was all right. I think I rated this like a 3 or 4 stars. I think I give it like a 3.5. I found bits of it like a bit cringe. If you haven't read this, it's like, it kind of does like flashbacks. So it starts out with a girl called Lily Bloom meeting a guy called Ryle on a rooftop. And they do a little bit of flirting, you know? At some point, she ends up with him. I don't know, it's actually quite a while since I've read this. She ends up with him, and things are going well, but she starts like reading her old diary, right? And this is the bit that made me cringe. Her diary, instead of writing like, Dear Diary, she would write letters to Ellen DeGeneres. So her diary entries are all like, Dear Ellen. And you know what? That really takes me out of it, especially in 2023 when no one fucking likes Ellen. We all know she's a wrong'un, right? So now I don't want to read your letters to her. Like, every time I read the word Ellen, I was like, oh, you again. But in these diary entries to Ellen, her diary entries from when she was young, when she was going through her first relationship, her first love, a guy called Atlas. And you know what? It's sweet. It is sweet. And then it flicks to her present relationship with Ryle, and her relationship with Ryle starts to sour. I don't want to give away too much of this book. Look up trigger warnings before you read this, by the way. You know what? I actually think I should give this another read because I think I judged it too harshly because of book talk. I don't know though, I don't think it is a winner for me. I think it was alright. There were some aspects of it that I did really like Lily's friendship with her best friend Alyssa is so lovely. I loved Alyssa. She is such a little babe. And this is the first Colleen Hoover book I've ever read. I've only ever read the other one, It Starts With Us, so I've never read any other Colleen Hoover apart from these two. So I don't know if this is something that she does often, but one thing I really actually did enjoy about this book is how she would like plant little clues in the beginning, and then you would kind of realize that those clues had deeper meaning throughout the story. So for example, she mentions this tattoo that she's got like here in a heart shape, and you know what, you just think it's like a tattoo, and then later in the story you realize why she has this tattoo and what it means, and it's like, oh right, okay. There was like quite a few of those moments, and I like having like little reveals and like twists and stuff in books. It keeps me entertained because I have the attention span of a little fish. So yeah, I think I give that one like 3.5. And then let's talk about It Starts With Us. I don't actually have that in hand because I left it in Yorkshire for some reason. I think I preferred this one at the time. Don't know why. It's a dual perspective. Without giving anything away from part 1, I can't really talk about part 2 much, but it's Lily's perspective and then it's her boyfriend's perspective. And her boyfriend is going through like family stuff, and there's like long lost family in the picture again, and like he's trying to figure that out. Meanwhile, Lily is trying to figure out problems with her ex-boyfriend. I think I just enjoyed this one a little bit more just because I knew the characters at this point and like I liked them and I was like invested in their lives, so I was like, okay, I want to hear what Lily does. But actually I feel a bit bad for saying this because of the nature of Lily's storyline, but I just wasn't that gripped by it. It got to a point where like I don't like her ex-boyfriend, so I just zoned out It's like when your mate's talking about their shit boyfriend and you're like, oh my god, just break up with him. Like, I just can't be arsed. Like, it was just getting me a bit jarred towards the end. I was more interested in the boy's storyline that he had going on, which was really sweet. It made me cry, like, quite a few times. Yeah, I think I'd rate that one kind of about the same as It Ends With Us. I'm gonna give Colleen Hoover another chance, obviously. I think I've bought Verity, because I've bought so many books lately. And Reminders of Him. And Hopeless. Oh my god, I've bought too many to say that I've only read 2 of her books. Okay, let me know which one of those is the best, and I will read that one next. I will give Colleen Hoover another chance. I followed that up with quite a different change of pace here. If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio. This, probably one of my favourite books that I have read in this current hyperfixation of mine. This is insane. This is so good. If you like murder mystery, plot twisty, but also not too crimey. So basically, this centers around a group of theatre students who are performing Shakespeare, which I will say, if you're not into Shakespeare, those bits are a bit jarring, right? It's really funny because I watched Jack Edwards' review on this one, and he was like, I love all the Shakespeare stuff. As a fan of Shakespeare, it was great. Those were my favourite scenes. Meanwhile, I was like, what the fuck are they talking about? I don't know what any of those words mean. They're proper old-timey words that I don't use in my day-to-day. So as I was watching them, that was one thing about this book that I loved. It felt like I was watching a movie at certain points. There was a bit towards the end that I could see so well in my mind's eye, and everything was going in slow motion, and I could see each of the characters' faces. But meanwhile, my eyes are just on words. Crazy. I love it when books do that, when it's so vivid that, oh, I loved the ending of this. It's got an ultimate plotty tea, and that's all I'll say. Well, no, actually, I will carry on telling you what this book's about. I realised I cut myself off to talk about Shakespeare. So yeah, it's a group of students, theatre students, university, dark academia book. I learnt that phrase in my booktube era. And yeah, they're putting on all these plays, and then someone dies. Yeah, it's about how that ends. I don't want to tell you too much because the plot twist is fucking amazing. But the story starts, so this whole book is kind of like a flashback. The story starts in present day when one of these students is just getting out of prison for said murder. But did he really do it? That's kind of the question at the start of the book. It's yes, he was put away for this, but was he actually the one that did it? Read it! It's so good. It's so good. I gave this 5 stars. This is my first 5-starer. After that, I actually listened to an audiobook. I got myself a little Audible account. Sponsored by Audible. No, it's not. I wish. Audible, hi, if you're watching this, I'm obsessed at the moment. I listen to one every 3 days. So get emailing me, please. Anyway, yeah, the first audiobook I listened to, again, from Jack Edwards' recommendation, because I wanted to read this book anyway, but then I heard him talking about it and he was like, listen to this in an audiobook because it's really, really good for audiobook version. Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Oh my god, was that an amazing audiobook. He was so right. If you're gonna do it in an audiobook, because I don't know if you know much about this book, but it's from all the different perspectives of each member of this band, Daisy Jonas, and they're supposed to be a Fleetwood Mac. Oh my god, my cats keep shitting me up. They're supposed to be a Fleetwood Mac-esque band in the 70s, rock band, and they get really, really big, and this book is just kind of about their rise and their demise, how the band kind of breaks up in the end. And like I say, it's from each of their perspectives, and there's about 6 of them, well 7 including Daisy Jones and the 6. So listening to this audiobook, there's over 7 different voices, because obviously there's other characters other than just the band. So yeah, it's really good to listen to an audiobook. It felt like listening to a TV show. So I do recommend that. It was such a good book. My cats are being so jarring. Children, what are you playing with? Because she's stressing mum out. My AirPod? My boyfriend has just also arrived at my house. Do you want to come say hi?
What are we doing?
Book reviews.
Oh, hi, sorry, I thought I said hi. Oh, yeah. That one was shit and that one were alright. There you are, summarised it.
Well, they haven't heard about those ones yet.
Oh
my god, help me get the cats out! Shit! Anyway, what were I saying? Sorry, family life, you know. Yeah, one thing that made me really, really like this is because I'm really into celebrity culture and gossip culture. And this really fed that for me. You're seeing all the band drama. Trust me, there's a fucking lot of drama in this band. You're seeing it all from a fly on the wall perspective. And it's great. I loved it. I think I gave that one a 4 stars. What would have made it a 5 for me? Well, to be fair, 4.5. But I do things on Goodreads and they don't do like decimal places. What would have made it a 5 stars for me? I just feel like the ending was a little bit like, oh, okay. Like I wasn't like super happy with it. I wasn't super disappointed with it. It was just an ending. And stuff like that is just like, when it's not that impactful, I'm just like, oh, I've spent like 9 hours listening to this and you're just gonna leave me like neutral? I don't know, like, okay. It were a good book though. I did enjoy the whole thing. I like ended up binging the last like 3 or 4 hours of this audiobook. It was great. Oh my god, the next one I read. I'm a bit scared to talk about this because I know that people like this author online, but I didn't like this book, really. This is Happy Place by Emily Henry. Quite a new book, I think. I couldn't get into these characters and their story. So basically, it's a group of friends that go on holiday, and they go on holiday to this same place every year. But this year, the main character, Harriet, well, is she the main character? Yeah, it's from her perspective, isn't it? The main character, Harriet, has split up from her fiancé, Win, and the rest of the friend group don't know yet. So they go on holiday and they have to kind of pretend like they're still together. And the whole time, you can tell that like they both want to be back together, but neither of them will like do it, and they're both saying, no, we can't, it's a really bad idea. But she doesn't tell you why they've broken up. So like the whole time I'm like, if yous want to be together, fucking get back together. Like I'm reading them both like longing for each other. But really I don't know why you've split up. So now I'm just thinking like, you're both just whiny. I don't know. I feel a bit bad. I was bitching about this to my boyfriend quite a lot. I was like, I just don't care. Like I didn't really care for their relationship or their story. I wasn't given enough in the beginning to really like root for them, I don't think. Oh, okay, there was like one redeeming factor about this book, and that was like the way that the friendship group was written was really sweet. Kind of reminded me of my friendship group. They are just really cute. I don't know, like all the things that they do and the way that they're all like there for each other. They're just very like, don't know if this is the right word to use, intimate? I don't know. It's sweet. Like the friendships in it are sweet, but the actual storyline, I don't know. I wasn't hooked. So I started an audiobook and then I shelved it, right? And I feel like I'm gonna get like a little bit of like question on this one because this is a story that a lot of people like. They more so like the movie Call Me By Your Name. I forget who the author is of that actually. Andre.
Seaman.
I don't know how you say that. I don't actually think it was the book's fault though. I think it was the narrator's fault. I forgot to listen to a sample before I bought it on Audible stupidly. And I don't know, there's just something about the way this narrator's telling the story. It's not getting me into it. And nothing's really happening other than just boys fancying each other, and I'm like, yeah, cool, but like, where's the story? Like, what's gonna happen? Never even got to the peach bit, and I just shelved it. And I've never seen the film either, so I just still don't know the story. I will pick it back up at some point. I'm sure I will. But, well, actually, the audiobook I'm listening to at the moment, I don't know if am I allowed to? Yeah, it was free on Audible. I'm listening to the first Harry Potter. Because it was free! I'm not giving that bitch any money, but I've never, like, seen the Harry Potter films. I've never read the Harry Potter books, and I want to know what everyone's talking about. What the fuck is a Horcrux? I've never known. I just hear people talking about, saying these random fucking made-up words, and I don't know what any of them mean. I need to know. So yeah, now I'm listening to Harry Potter. Anyway, the next book, it was another audiobook, and this one I went through so fast. How to Kill Your Family by Bella Mackie. Oh my god, I love this one. So, this is basically about a girl, a female serial killer, that sets out to kill her own estranged side of the family. So she had her mum growing up, and that was it. She never really had a relationship with her dad, and she found out it was because her dad had a whole family. He had a wife and kids, and he didn't want anything to do with her and her mum because, well, obviously, it's a child of an affair. So when this girl grows up, she sets out to kill all of her dad's side of the family, and he's like a really rich billionaire. Most of them are really rich. And it takes you through each and every way that she kills them. And it's a comedy book, by the way. I think I forgot to say that. It's like a comedy, like crimey. It's good. It's good. That's the genre, good. Yeah, and it takes you through all the different ways that she kills each member of her family, and some of them are so crazy. Okay, well, I won't tell you them too much, but there's sex parties, there's frog conservation groups, there's a poisoned influencer PR package. I mean, there were parts where it was a little bit rambly. It took her a long time to get through through all these deaths. And I didn't mind that so much because it was an audiobook, and I do forgive rambling a bit more if it's in my ears rather than on my eyes. For some reason I can't do with rambly books, because I've got a rambly one coming up. Oh my god, it's taken me ages to read this one. Anyway, there were a couple of bits that actually made me cringe a little bit though about How to Kill Your Family. She makes like quite a few like derogatory comments about influencers, and I know I'm one to fucking take problem with that. Sometimes I just find it cringe the way that people just hate influencers and just immediately have a distaste for them. I don't know. I mean, I am one, so I don't know though. I think sometimes it just comes across as very like millennial and cringe to be like, oh, the people taking selfies all the time for a job. It's like, get with the times, bitch. I just kind of wish the ending of that book was a little bit more oomph. You know, it wasn't a bad ending, but it also wasn't a good ending. I was just kind of left like, oh, right. And then I did another audiobook. I told you I'm fucking loving audiobooks at the moment. I listened to Conversations with Friends by Sally Rooney, and I did really like this. I did, although I found that I need a lot of plot, I think, in stories to stay interested, because in this one there wasn't much of a plot. It was like these two young uni lasses meet this older couple, this older married couple, and they make friends with them, and one of the young girls ends up having an affair with the husband of the older couple, and it's just kind of about how that pans out, which I did like, because I like a bit of gossip, so I did devour it nonetheless, but I kind of wish there was a little bit more plot. One of the notes I've written about this, because I've written notes in my notes, because I have the memory of a goldfish. One of the notes I've written is smut scene slay. Because that's one thing about me that I have realised in my reading era. Smut scenes make me cringe. Most of the time. I don't know why. I don't like... It just makes me cringe. I don't like reading the way that a lot of authors write about sex for some reason. There's certain authors that like I'm alright with, like Stephen King. Spoiler, my next book is a Stephen King book. The way that he does it is very like to the point, and I'm like, oh yeah, cool, they had sex, and then we move on, we get on with the story. But sometimes it makes me feel really weird, because I feel like a fly on the wall in their bedroom, and like they don't know that I'm there, and I'm like hearing about the sex that they're having, and I'm like, I don't like it. I get like that with TV shows as well. I actually stopped watching Bridgerton after episode 5, because that was the episode where she lost her virginity to the Duke, and I was like, I can't watch this. Like, I feel like I'm like intruding. I don't like it. But because I've written smut scene slay, that must mean that the smut in this audiobook was alright. It was slay, apparently. I will say I loved the ending of this audiobook. It was messy, and it kind of left it like a bit open. I love endings like that, where I can like fill in the blanks in my own brain and I get my own ending then, you know? Does it count as a plotty tea? I don't know. Yeah, I think it is a little bit of a plot twist, is it? I don't know, but it's a good ending nonetheless. Oh my god, one thing that I didn't like about this book, it's like one of the only things I didn't like. The note I've written is, kept hurting herself for no reason. Ew, fuck off. This is another thing I've realised really makes me cringe in books, is like reading about someone hurting themselves, and not like in a self-harm way, but for example, like a lot of the time in this book and in the next book I'm going to talk about, they would like pinch themselves or make themselves bleed. In the next book that I'm going to talk about, there was one part where he dug his nails into his gum to draw blood to like bring him back to reality. He was having like a bit of a head moment, and so he did that to I just hate reading. I can't read about that. And for some reason in Conversations with Friends they do that quite a lot, and I was like, just stop it, just give it a fucking rest. I will say that's the only thing that like jarred me about that book. It was a good book, just wish there was a little bit more going on, just a little bit more drama. Come on. Oh shit, I did another audiobook. Why isn't Audible sponsoring this? Come on now. Come on, Neale. Yeah, the next audiobook I did was How to Disappear by Gillian... I forget her name. This is why it's easier having physical books in your hand, because the author's name is on it. Gillian McAllister. And I'll tell you, I loved this one as well. I think I gave this one 4 stars. It was very long though. That was the one thing I didn't like. It took ages to get to the point. Well, not to get to the point, but just to tell the story. I just felt like the story could have been told a lot briefer. The premise of this one is it centers around this blended family of 2 daughters and her mum and her dad, and they're married. So it's this blended family. And one of these daughters is on trial for a murder that she witnessed. She's not on trial. She's a witness at a trial for a murder that she witnessed. That makes sense. In this trial, because she's a minor, her identity is hidden. She's just known as Girl A, right? And she gives evidence at this trial, but it later turns out to be false evidence. And when everyone on the murderer's side, or like his family and his friends, find out that she gave false evidence, they want to track her down and get revenge. So the family have to be put into witness protection to protect Girl A from these people. But it's an issue because they're a blended family. You know, the dad doesn't want to take the daughter away from her biological mum. He can't ask his daughter to up and leave her life. So what happens is the daughter Girl A and her mum end up going into witness protection while the dad and his daughter stay in their normal lives. And it's basically how they're both like navigating this, and the whole time the group of like murderers' friends and family are trying to find Girl A, and they keep getting close, and the dad is trying to like get intel on the situation. And I won't tell you much more. It's good. It was a good book, and again, this is one of those ones that took forever to get to the point. It is like a crime why did that come out so weird? It is like a crime thriller, but it's more so just kind of about this family. Like, it's a sweet family, and they're at the center of this story. So like, yeah, you are reading a bit of like a crime thriller-y story, but like, it's not always major suspense. It's just like, oh, this family like navigating life, and oh shit, something happened, and then oh, this family, you know? The ending was really good though. Yeah, it was good. I'll take away my really. The ending was good. I was satisfied. I'll say that. I wasn't like astounded and blown away, but I was satisfied. I was happy with the ending that I got. It left me with a little smile on my face. Oh, I have written one note. There were some bits in this book that made me cringe as well. Maybe I'm just like too easy to cringe. I don't know. But there was one point where one of the daughters was having a conversation with her dad. She goes, "Shade thrown," and he goes, "You're cancelled." And I was like, ugh, someone get these authors off of the internet ASAP. Other than that though, that was a good book. And the last one, this one I literally just finished reading before I turned the camera on. This is the main reason I wanted to make this video right now, because I want to talk about this. I love this. Pet Sematary by Stephen King. This is my first ever Stephen King book, and I am now obsessed. I love the way that Stephen King writes. He's just a rambly bitch. And you know what? That's not always my favorite, but for some reason, I liked the way that he did it in this. Fucking big book there. Like 500 million pages. It's like 460. So, the story of this, it's a family that moves to a new house, and behind their house is like a pathway up to like a forest, and they go up there and they find the pet cemetery, which is where all of the neighborhood kids bury their dead pets because they live on a highway, and a lot of the time their pets get hit by trucks and stuff. So they take them up to the pet cemetery and bury them, which is, you know, fine. But you later find out that the pet cemetery is only the start of this really weird, like, burial ground situation. There is more than meets the eye. Can I tell you like kind of the crux of it? Yeah, fuck it, I will. There's a bit of the burial ground where if you bury something dead, it will come back to life. And that's all I'm gonna say, because oh my god, the ending of this book was insane. I read the final like 150 pages just now in the last few hours. Well, in the last lot of hours actually. It's taken me about 5 or 6. But the ending had me so gripped. I was sat there on my bed like, it was insane. I really didn't expect that ending. I don't know why. Well, no, I do know why, because it was like quite unexpected. But I mean, it's not a plot twist per se, but like, I just didn't expect it to go that way. And I was just very happy that it did. Happy is a bad word to use because this is a horror book. So it ended horribly. I will tell you that. But like a good kind of horrible, you know? Towards the end, like the last quarter of this book is like it's not necessarily like dual perspective, but it keeps flashing between, so like the main characters are in two different places. On the same day, it just keeps flashing between what they're both doing at the same time. It's like so-and-so is doing this over here while so-and-so is having a nightmare about oh, I nearly told you. And it just keeps flashing between them, and it's really suspenseful, and like it'll take you away from this person's perspective and into this one's, and you're like, no, I want to know what happens. But then you get like really hooked back into this one, and then he takes you back over to this one, and it's like, oh my god. It was really, really good. I was so gripped, and I'm gonna buy so many more Stephen King books after this. I enjoyed this so much. I'm gonna give this a 5 stars. I need to actually fill it out on Goodreads. If you want to follow me on Goodreads, by the way, I forget my username, I'll put it on here. I think it could be eleanorneale, I don't know. But yeah, that's all the books I read on my mental health break. And like I say, I'm gonna read so many more when I have my boob job tomorrow. Wish me luck. I'm very, very nervous. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Love you so much, and I will see you in the next one. And I'll film another book video soon. If you enjoyed this, let me know. Okay, bye.